come with me today to go to a Raghouse. What is a Raghouse? Well, a Raghouse is basically a warehouse full of vintage. It's not all good vintage, like it could be sheets. It just is old recycling clothing. It's basically a recycling plant, and the one I go to has it narrowed down and is kind of, this one I'm going to today is not that organized, but that's kind of the fun of it in a way. It's in LA. I'm not giving all my secrets away because the thing is, you have to have the desire to figure this stuff out. Part of being a human is the treasure hunting, to figure out what it is that lights our souls on fire, right? So basically, I will give you a tip. I did find these people at a flea market, and I just kind of was interested in what they had, and I asked them, do you have a warehouse in LA that I could come to? And they said yes. A lot of times with these warehouses, there are minimums prices. Like, so you have to spend $500, $1,000. Like, it's not just like going to a vintage store. This place in particular has a lot of the textiles that I like. They will have the vintage lace. Like right now, I was in LA yesterday also for a different reason. I was getting silk to make my silk dresses out of. I need the vintage lace. I've been selling vintage lace like crazy. I have a couple of trunk shows coming up, so I am going to see vintage lace. And then I hope I don't find anything else I have to have, or maybe I hope I do find something else I have to have. So stick with me, let's go. Okay, so here I am, and I'm outside, and basically I'm so glad because he got this ready for me. So I'm looking for some of these Indian, the rare ones, and so you go through here. If you don't want it, you throw it over there. A lot of times when I come, he's not ready for me and I have to wait. But today I kind of insisted. I didn't want to wait. I just need I don't need as much as I usually need. But I have so many of these and I just love them. So I have to get this. Look how pretty this is. And what happens is, even though I feel good about what I'm getting, like it's like treasure hunting, because like, what if there's something right underneath here that I really, really want? Like, I know this is cool. I don't want it. I gotta move on. So this is the inside, and they are kind of organized, and they kind of aren't. So now we're doing the lace, and you know, it's just taking, I'm really seeing that it's getting harder and harder to find like the good stuff, and I will find it. And between him and everyone else that I deal with, I do have the best lace, but it does make me question how long this is going to last, and how you know, are my prices too cheap? Because these things are not going to be around for very long. So I don't know. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm walking over to where they have a couple of stores as well in LA, and this is like where they get everything washed. And oh my god, it's just so hard because everywhere I look I see something. They get everything washed and ready for their store, and he lets me come over here. So I'm one of the privileged ones. So it'll be fun. So right off the bat I see my lace, and so they're getting wise that this lace is more valuable than some of the other ones. So it's a shame, but this is what happens. So this section, they have somewhat sorted out, and I try not to get stuck in here too much. But yeah, you can see it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. So I'm dying to go down here because I just saw this one thing from way over there, but claustrophobia is hitting. This is Miguel, and I've been shopping with him for so many years, and so always very helpful. And Miguel, I never really asked you, like, how did you get involved in this? What's your story about this?
Hi, first of all, I want to introduce myself. Miguel's Miguel Soto, and I grew up in a vintage clothing environment. Since a young age, my dad was a vintage clothing dealer, and he was selling vintage clothing at the Roseville Flea Market since the 90s. So I grew up in this environment, and right now, I just been stuck with it since as a young age. What I do normally is I help other clients to recycle vintage garments, as crochet fabric or anything that comes in these bales that we can be a good use for repurpose.
Where do these bales come from?
These comes here from inside the United States. Some of them are donations, some of them are things that people buy in bulk. But this is like a really beautiful way to recycle vintage garments.
That's amazing.
I mean, through the path of time, it just keeps getting harder to find vintage clothing, because as everything it has an expiration date. Vintage clothing is becoming more scarce through time, especially good quality, good condition items. I would say that 10 years ago you will find maybe 10% of the veil was vintage. Nowadays it's like 1% or less is vintage.
Wow.
Fashion has been changing. Now a lot of days people do Y2K stuff.
Yeah, where do you think the vintage market's going?
I believe now, I mean, it's kind of hard to guess, but my personal guess would be more into the apocalyptic cyberpunk era. That's my type of favorite vision for the future.
Right.
Because everybody understands now decades, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Right.
But for me, I have not seen cyberpunk or kind of like a apocalyptic type of fashion going on the streets.
So it's like upcycling and making your own.
Yeah, it will probably end up to, since that decay of fabric quality, it will lead to people start recycling the good quality, meaning from like a distress or rip, a pair of jeans, or like a canvas pants, like the Carhartt that is going on right now. I would say a lot of people buy for the quality,
right?
Not just for the hype, because Carhartt has been around for what, since 1930s, 1940s.
Right.
It's an old school brand, but the quality of the garment is great.
Right. Well, it must be, you have a wealth of knowledge, and I always love seeing you, and you're always so great. Your family's awesome.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure working with you, Catherine. And I like your style. I like your vibe, and I like that you are helping the environment by recycling vintage clothing garments and turn them into something beautiful.
Yay. All right, Miguel. Well, thank you for all the information, and I'll see you next week.
You're welcome, guys.
So there you have it. You know, in a trending field such as sustainability and upcycled and recycled, where I can really see that the market is just getting saturated, not just with vintage Y2K, but also just suddenly everybody's an upcycled designer. And I'm grateful for so many things, because not only is that not just what I do, but I'm also so blessed with the gift of creativity, and I'm always on to new things and new ways to use fabrics and find new fabrics that people haven't thought of. But the other thing that I think that in the big picture, in the big play, is that I will just keep making beautiful clothing and keep it as beautiful as I can, and also add touches of the vintage elements into other pieces, like I just did in this recent launch, my silk swan dresses, and just keep the sustainability alive, but not rely on it, and keep evolving. And that's what it's all about, is just as a brand, how do I keep evolving me? And it's great, because I don't want to do the same old thing time after time. As a creative, that is actually the worst thing I can do. So yeah, Miguel wants to do like a weekly, whenever I go up there, we're going to talk about some other kind of rather than vintage lace, we'll talk about something else. And it was really fun to have an opportunity to talk to him today. So I hope that it was of value for you. Ciao.